Professional office. It's not an office or place of business where professional or business services
I know where this comes from now.
are offered.
You didn't like an opinion we were into.
Absolutely not.
Right.
A television rental place is a professional office? Give me a break.
Well, this has to do with the evolving world we live in. Now, whether or not that would qualify us, but the moving away from it being strictly, you know, architects, accountants, engineers, lawyers.
Why would
doctors.
you want to move away from that? I don't think
Well,
we can move away from it. There's only one place where it comes into play, and that's the Fisk Law Office. The whole intent of the bylaw was that it was going to be for those occupations, doctors, lawyers, and so for it to turn into a television rental facility, you know, just was.
Well, you see, so putting aside the television rental facility, I'm thinking 21st century. I mean, there are a lot of offices today that, you know, it's like
Not this one.
where business is being conducted. That, I mean, it's like the New Yorker cartoon, right? There are two 7th grade girls standing next to each other, and one of them says, "This is actually a cartoon that we had on our fridge for a while. That I don't know what I'm going to be in the future, but it hasn't been invented yet." I mean, so it's partly having a definition that reflects the evolving nature of what goes on
Then
in
it's
offices.
not a professional office. I mean, look, a professional office, in my opinion, is an office occupied by a certified professional practicing his profession with a graduate degree in that profession. That's what it is. It's not guys renting television sets to students. I'm sorry. You can stretch things a long way, but that's way beyond the limit for me.
So if you had this company where all you had were banks and a few computers, and whatever, you came up with this bright idea of selling books over the internet, would that be a professional office?
If a principal, it could go anywhere in the center of Weston under our zoning bylaw. But the purpose of the fiscal office was to reserve it for specific particular activities, not for any office.
Well, I'm not focused on the fiscal office. I'm focused on, we had a town that aggressively, assertively wanted us to defend somebody's permit that was being challenged by a neighbor for a home occupation, because the neighbor wanted to define it in, call it, old-fashioned terms, and the town wanted to be open to, and I'm not proposing this, I'm pushing back here just to be sure we understand what the implications are. They wanted to be open to people having home occupations, to have, 21st century high-tech businesses that really only required a laptop or whatever, that may not involve people who have one of those professional certifications.
You can do that at any house in Weston.
Right, but I'm moving that now from a house. But so somebody is challenging that as a home occupation because they were a neighbor of us. They're saying not a traditional home occupation.
Not an issue in
So
Weston.
I'm saying, for a professional office, can it be Harvard dropout, to pick an example, who has some software idea?
And if you have a particular software idea and you're practicing out of your house, you can do that.
Or in an office.
I'm
moving into an office.
You can do it in virtually any space in the center of Weston. But in this case, there's a limitation to artist studios and professional offices.
Right.
And this is for the Fisk Law Office.
So we say where professional or business services are offered. I guess what's open.
No.
What's still open for definition here, and again, I'm not arguing, I know you're arguing, Fisk, I'm not. I'm arguing for clarity. So what's business services here?
I don't know. I didn't write this.
Yeah, I just put up something trying to get down what would.
I think it's a professional office is a space where the principal is a licensed professional in the state of Massachusetts with a graduate professional degree.
Well-
I think you want to say graduate because that implies master's, which can be a bachelor.
No, I don't know, can you get licensed in Massachusetts with a
Sure.
bachelor's degree?
Yeah, Bachelor of Architecture, sure.
Okay, with a professional degree then?
Why don't you say, you know, excluding retail, manufacturing?
Or excluding, then the exclusion list gets to be real long.
Well, it does say, so not involving the sale of goods or the keeping of the stock of, keeping of stock in trade.
But it sounds like there's a specific intent, like a web developer wouldn't be able to go in there.
Right.
The intent was, I think I was the only one sitting on the planning board when the thing was written. The intent was that it was a little building reserved for a specific limited number of uses, old-fashioned as they might be.
Oh, office work.
Not just general office work, though, a specific type. Because I think it's general office work. For one thing, the occupancy limit is 2.
But that's a whole separate issue. It's still, if you're still talking office work, it may, you know, the occupancy is a separate.
I'm just saying, if that's the intent, if the intent is to move off professional offices, let's just call a spade and not twist the definition of professional.
Well, the problem is that there are a lot of different professions, you know, which might not be professional in the sense of a graduate degree and all that kind of stuff.
Like what?
Well, I thought web development is a good example.
Yeah.
Well, I saw a masseuse on Thorn Road, is that considered a profession?
I think it's
Therapeutic
professional,
massage?
but it wouldn't necessarily fit, so I'm saying.
But even like a cleaning service, let's say 2 women open up a cleaning service. then
That's
they
not a
come back out.
professional. You
No.
don't, you wouldn't, would you?
But,
describe
no,
that
it would be, but
I mean,
it's still an office, you know.
Even the
Look,
masseuse
I
requires
happen
higher
to think it
education.
means something.
Requires
It's
I
not
mean,
graduate, John.
I know
you're a
what you're saying.
doctor.
It's not graduate, just beyond.
You're an attorney, we're architects. It means something. You work your buns off for decades to have it mean something.
That sounds like a level of discrimination, education, you know. If you don't have this degree, you can't have an office.
It's not, you can. It's just that in this particular location, which is the Fisk Law Office, do you know where it is?
No, I don't.
Oh.
It's about the size of a small bathroom.
It would fit in that, between there,
The
between
hallway.
these doors and the
It's
elevator.
about half the size of this room.
It's that one building.
It should
Been
be
vacant all these years.
Why don't we just say?
That's because the town never did
office?
anything to it.
Just
The town never restored it. It was just derelict for so many years. I'm just saying, you know, if we want to open it up to anybody, that's
Well,
fine.
don't get me wrong, I obviously have no, again, as I disclaimed earlier, I'm not trying to argue a position, but you just want to be clear about, so if you want to limit it to recognize,
I would say let's limit
Degree
it,
holding
limit it to
professionals.
recognized professions, or forget the whole thing and change the allowed uses to include any office use. But let's don't play semantic games with, you know, with what's in there. But that's all I'm saying. If we don't want it to be for professionals, let's just say it, the general business and be done with it.
I mean, the Massachusetts licensed or
Yeah,
something that the state of Massachusetts recognized profession.
right,
Okay.
yeah. I
Although
mean,
tattoo artist
Yeah, I mean,
is.
that's-
yeah, I know, that's why I brought the professional degree in
Yeah,
there.
but that's a profession too.
Because the last thing you want is a tattoo artist.
Well, why do you say that?
You have a good start.
I thought your real problem is the number of people in
Yeah,
the building and also the keeping of the inventory. You know, when you have a saleable inventory, I thought was something you were trying to, you know,
What
where are
if
they
it
going to
was-
store all that stuff?
What if it was just an office or place of business not involving the sale of goods or the keeping of a stock in trade?
Yeah,
Forget it, you know.
yeah,
That would
yeah, that
eliminate
kind of,
the kind of things
you don't like.
there.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm just saying that when it was first written, the intent was that it was going to be limited to a certain number of users, type of users. All I would be able to do is stretch words like professional to include anybody. Let's just call a spade and allow anybody in there if that's what we want to do. That's all I'm saying.
So let's go back, the use table, I should remember, so it says office professional,
Professional office.
professional office.
Yeah. It just doesn't define what that is.
Right, right. So we're stuck, Al, to your point, we are stuck with the word professional because that's what's in the bylaw.
So if we want to
So
change
you're
it,
being a linguistic purist.
yes, I am.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important
Yeah.
in zoning bylaws.
But I think that, again, if you just said an office or place of business not involving the sale of goods or the keeping of a stock in trade, that would pretty much accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, you just take that use out and substitute a more general use in there, you know?
I was uncomfortable with calling that a professional
Professional.
office. That's his point. Just
That's
a
my
matter
point.
of The OED, well, the OED.
Right, this just,
We won't see.
I should have
we won't
carried
see
it
Bill
with me.
Gates there.
Both volumes.
As an item.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess like Al said, you could always, I mean, not as part of this because this was a definition, just identify another type of office use for annual town meeting that then says, here's a different type of use under that category, and you know, bring in things like no keeping of stock, no customers, or something like that.
well,
Just-
isn't that already in there?
But it's all associated with professional.
Yeah.
Couldn't it just be office use where there was no keeping of stock? You know what I'm
Masseuse would
saying?
have
Just take the word professional out of it and be done with it?
That's what I just said.
Oh.
Sales, function of the sales.
Joel seemed to think you were still calling it a professional office.
No, it was an office or place of
You
business.
don't know.
I think that was professional, I think.
Oh,
Right.
Well, then
Business.
you haven't achieved your purpose of
Yeah.
defining professional office.
I don't think we need to then, do we? Is there another place in town where there's that stipulation?
I don't know.
I don't think there is.
No. I mean, realistically, we're not actually in the definition saying professional office. We're saying office of doctor, dentist, lawyer, accountant, architect, engineer, or similar professional.
Right.
Or similar, yeah.
That's where I
Do you
had a
want a page
problem.
on?
18.
That's where I had a
That
problem.
kind of
You
says it.
enumerate 5 or 6 different professions.
Right.
And then we say it's anybody. These guys are anybody.
so maybe we don't need that definition. This is our.
But like the question is,
No.
if someone wanted to, office of 2 doing software development or web development, is that considered a similar professional?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Well, so just to put the cards on the table, we rendered an opinion that said, you know, evolving concepts of what a professional person is would include that.
But is there a limit to what it includes?
Well, that's just
No.
it. I mean, it's,
There isn't. So you can say, yeah, software development, but what about renting television
Well,
sets?
but this would have precluded it, this
Well,
definition.
Just as a
Not
business.
involving the
business
sale of
No,
goods
no.
or the.
But they're not selling anything, and they're not keeping
Well,
any
then
stuff.
saying the sale or rental of goods.
well, it's all off premise. I mean, that's the point today. Is it's all. I mean, you know, obviously the sale of books conjures up Amazon.
They could be selling car parts, you know? I
Well, that's
mean,
right. If it's all.
And they're
offset.
they could call themselves professional car part salesmen.
What
When is it, you know, why
They're
do we
not
bother?
keeping car parts
Yes,
there, they're not keeping televisions there.
Yeah.
So what's the problem with them
They're not-
using their telephones?
I don't
and
have a problem.
computers?
I just think it ought to be, we shouldn't describe them as professional, just, you know, just.
Office workers.
So what do you think of this guy in Somerville? I heard this thing on NPR who has a business around the country finding buyers for organs that need home, pipe organs, not bottle organs.
That would be soon.
Right, they need homes because the churches are being demolished or
I
moved.
think he's doing a great job. I just don't think he's a professional.
Well, it's,
Well, he might disagree.
I don't care if he
And
does or
some
doesn't.
business people might disagree with you if you're saying businessmen or businesswomen are not professional.
architect or
I don't think
engineer
we're going
or
to resolve this here.
No, we're not.
professional.
Why don't we just drop the word professional?
Well, you see, but it's not,
It's in the
it's
bylaw.
in the text though,
Already
it's not
here.
actually used, they're similar professional. I mean, yeah, the question is,
Is a guy selling organ parts the equivalent of a doctor, lawyer, or not? I mean,
architect or engineer, I mean, they're highly specialized architects. There are architects who only do specking, for instance.
That's a
right?
quantitative,
Yes,
that's a
but
quantitative judgment.
that's a
rather than-
professional occupation.
rather
You
than-
have to be a licensed architect to do that.
Right, but all they're doing, actually, think about it, is they're not so much buying, but they're selling, they're middlemen.
No, they're
Or
not.
the-
No, they're not.
Don't try arguing this
All right.
with two architects.
No.
You're gonna lose.
You're looking at two
Not
gonna
different
work.
specs.
The thing is, they're doing office work. The use in the building is not something that's going to hurt the building. Right? And again, the number of people is a whole separate issue.
I don't know, maybe it's because it's almost 11 o'clock. and
Yeah,
people
well,
just sort
right
of- They're not hearing what I'm saying. I don't
Yeah,
care if
okay.
we say it's professional or not. I
Good.
don't really
Okay,
give it.
we're in agreement with that.
But we need to think of some other definition for the use that is acceptable.
Well, I
Office
thought
work.
we had like the thing with no stock.
No, but-
Yeah, right, but it's not
Excuse
Why
me.
addressing
can't
the
you
right.
call
I
that
Googled
professional
what is a
office?
professional, and it is of, relating to, or connected with a profession.
Yeah, that's-
So,
that's really
you know, it
helpful.
is ambiguous, however, if it serves a purpose, as long as it's not illegal.
Is that OED or is that Webster?
No, I agree with Al. I mean, I think we know what the professions are. I mean, that doesn't, you then have to, you have to
Or is that
Google
the section
profession.
school?
But if you Google profession, you'll get what Al said. And I acknowledge that. The question is the zoning bylaw. So it's a question, are you Antonin Scalia, or in other words, are you a kind of fundamental, what's the word, originalist?
I think the bylaw
Or
should say what it means.
see it as having an evolving.
I think it should say what it means. If you say it's got to be a profession similar to A, B, C, D, E, then you're doing a disservice to the community to say, or anything. I think it should either say it could be anything or not.
Well, so there's a judgment in there when you say you're doing a disservice to the community. That's really, I think, the key. Because I'm with you semantically 100%. You know, I'm with the OED. But the question is, are you doing a service or a disservice to the community when you broaden it and you allow the broader array of
Just
professional
change the
type?
language. Just, if you want to broaden it, change the language and broaden it.
Well, okay, but in any event, defining office professional really won't get at it because it doesn't quite use it. It says, or similar professional. Office or similar
I
professional.
think we should just change that section.
Professional,
Yes, that's what we were trying to do.
Right.
not office,
Without
but
office.
professional.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm no longer here.
So maybe we can work on a definition of
Nobody
professional.
really does.
Yeah.
Such a little
Yeah, so can we move
Okay,
on?
let's
Yes,
move on.
we're going to define
All right.
professional.
All right, you're going to try that?
You know, I think
Let's
you
see
are.
if that works when we have the hearing next week.